to engage with issues arising from the zoning of the 2023 presidency with the political and development sociologist. I'm talking about Dr. Barnabas Suleiman. Good to have you with us. Also with us is Dr. Law Mefo, a forensic psychologist. Dr. Law, always a pleasure. Welcome
Thank you
again.
for hosting us.
All right, good morning. Thanks for coming, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, maybe I should begin with the forensic psychologist.
Okay.
Zoning is a word that has again resonated in the political circles in Nigeria. The southern governors met twice recently and said power must return to the south in 2023. But their northern counterparts have also met and resolved that no, that can't happen. That, of course, it is unconstitutional for you to say power must return to the south. Let democracy take its course. Dr. Law, what do you make of these arguments?
I have a problem with both divides. When the southern governors met and said must, I don't like the word must. When you say must, you are saying, in a matter of conjecture, it's either you do this or that happens. No, it's not it. Power has to move to the south. You make your case. I expect the southern governors to engage their northern counterparts. The southern governors, they scored the point nonetheless that power moving south is inevitable at the moment. On the other hand also, the northern governors said never. It will never happen. It is not in the constitution. That tone and language is also unnecessary. It doesn't really tie in well with a democratic process. In democracy, you don't force things down the throat of people. And again, when they say that it is not written into the constitution of the country, I think they are also wrong. Because when you talk about writing certain things into the country's constitution, Nigeria is not run only by a written constitution. Britain as a country has no document anywhere they call constitution. Issues have arisen in Nigeria based on convention. They have become the best practice, and rotation has become one of them. The PDP took a step, a patriotic one, I must say, to write into their own constitution in 2009 that the power must rotate between North and South Nigeria. That is patriotic. And all I expect the PDP to do is to enforce their own laws, their own rules. That said, I think that something is not adding up here. When the Northern Divide says that it's not in the Constitution, that democracy is about number, I tell us, democracy is not all about number. You see, let me give you clear instances. Even from the American democracy that we copied from, have you asked yourself why Hillary Clinton did not become the president of the US after winning that election with a clear 3 million votes, popular votes, right? But in the electoral votes, she lost. What do you mean by electoral votes in the US? These are measures put into the American presidentialism to equalize the system and ensure equity and social justice. So, one man, one vote is not enough. It is actually moderated by certain other factors. In the Nigerian condition also, if you want to talk about one man, one vote in Nigeria, well, it is not bad, but again, it shouldn't apply. Because already in practice is the fact that We are not leaving everything to one man, one vote, or the so-called merit. Ask yourself, why do you enforce quota system in the university system in Nigeria? It's because you need to balance the system. If you go to equity schools, a child from Anambra will have to score 139 to enter the unity school in Nigeria. The counterpart from Yobe doesn't need more than 10 marks to enter. So, you see, why is this so? It's because you have inherent imbalance in the system that must be rebalanced. The same thing applies to the federal system where it comes to the production of the president. Say, Section 171, I think subsection 5, talks about the federal character principle that must apply to the Nigerian situation, saying that all federal offices must reflect the diversity of Nigeria in such a way as to ensure equity. Not only that, in order to also prevent a preponderance of one section of the country dominating or appearing to dominate the entire polity.
All right.
Is 1 minute, just 1 second. The office of the president is a federal office. And because it is indivisible, the only way the federal character principle can apply to it is by rotation. You must rotate the office of the president in order to obey that extant provision of the 1999 Constitution. It's very simple.
Dr. Barnabas, let's look at this issue critically. Let's simplify a little bit. This debate about zoning, you know, in the PDP and the northern governors saying that, you know, politics is a game of numbers, and the southern governors saying that it is it must come to the south. Both sides having, you know, their arguments, and for good reasons too. The question will now be, on what side of the divide are we seeing a situation where they are being self-serving? Because it will seem as if I am from this region, I believe in this. We haven't seen a section of the northern governors supporting the southern governors, or some section of the southern governors supporting the northern governors. Both sides have stayed, you know, on their lane very clearly and taking a stand. And that stand is, it comes to us, or it doesn't have to go to you. So it will seem as if that this idea, this debate is a self-serving one.
Yeah, most definitely is a self-serving one. But besides that, I think the contestations between the southern governors and the northern governors on who produces the next president is truly a testimony of the failures of our democracy. You know, I think that if our democracy, you know, was working, or were to be working the way it actually should, nobody will be bothered about this. That was one. Secondly, it's actually a contestation in the realm of the elites. You know, I can tell you that no governor is fighting for the common man when it comes to power must shift to either the north or the south. You know, because if you look at these governors, they are positioning themselves to assume that, position. And if truly you want to fight for equity, it does not have to be only the variable of ethnicity or even region. Why are we not saying that power must shift from men to women? Why are we not saying power must shift from the old to the young? Why are we not saying power must shift from, governors? I mean, people who have served as governors or vice presidents before, to those who haven't had, their own chance. So it's actually self-serving, and the tone is discouraging. Each time I listen to governors, undermine democracy with their, grandstanding, must come. And that's a sign. I'm sorry to say that the governor of Ondo State, and you are saying power must shift. Why are you not saying power must shift to the southeast? So that we know truly you are fighting for justice. and you are positioning yourself, you have produced, Southwest has produced a president before, and you want power to go there, and that will be justice. Southeast hasn't produced one yet. North Central has not produced. Northeast also has not. So these governors who are positioning themselves to become the next governors, the next president of this country, are actually fighting their own fight, using ethnicity as a tool. And like my brother said about Northern governors saying never, I don't think that the Northern governor said never. And if you remember very well, El-Rufai was one of those who said that for fairness, power should move from the north to the south after President Buhari finishes his tenure. Zulum also followed suit. So it's because these governors, the southern governors, have come up with this kind of, authoritarian disposition that power must move. And they are reacting and say no, because democracy is about negotiation. It's about, conversations to reach a decision that favors all. But when you come out and say, and you know that some people cannot be, they don't like to be intimidated. And certainly the North will not like to be intimidated along that line. So it's actually
there's a response.
Exactly. And so that's the response, we are seeing now. For example, if you bring a candidate like Atiku Abubakar, right, of PDP, and then because power must shift, you now go to the south and bring an Akeredolu, who do you think people will vote for? So there need to be conversations within the parties, among the political stakeholders, to reach something that is actually truly reflective of what the people want.
Exactly.
Because these governors must not determine who becomes the next president. The Nigerian people must actually determine it.
Dr. Mefo, the issue of zoning power rotation, as we speak, is not captured, in our constitution. I'm talking about the 1999 constitution as amended. It's just more or less a gentleman agreements among, the political elites or political parties. Does a party in an agreement need to lobby another when there is an existing understanding, of how power should move from one part of the country to another?
I want to avert our minds to the processes we have undergone since 1999. Like I said before, everything doesn't have to be captured in a document called Constitution. Nations are governed by conventions, what you now refer to as gentleman agreement. Of course, it is part of the laws, because once there is no dissension, there is no violation. And once there is an agreement, whether gentlemanly or otherwise, as long as the parties involved agree and move with it, it shall be. In 1999, when we returned to this democracy, there was an understanding. It wasn't written anywhere that power needed to shift to the south and particularly to the southwest. What the political actors did in agreement with that pervading
unwritten agreement.
It wasn't written, but it was an agreement.
So, of what effect is an agreement if there is no legal document backing it?
If men are honorable, you don't need to write anything down. The best place to write an agreement is in your heart, and it happened in 1999. Let me tell you. Let me refresh our minds. You see, Olusegun Obasanjo was produced by the PDP as their flag bearer, right? Now, in Kaduna party primaries of APP, that is what it used to be called, All People's Party, something like that. Ogbonnionu actually won the party primaries to fly the flag of the APP, right? There was another meeting, I think in Lagos or Ibadan, there around. At that meeting, the AD, Alliance for Democracy, was to produce their own flag bearer. Contending for that position was Olufalaye, but he wasn't alone. Chukwuemeka Ezeife was also going for that same position. And he came in his kitty with the support of the Southeast and South-South. What that meant was that he had block votes. That if he actually went the whole hog, there was a chance that he could have become the flag bearer of Alliance for Democracy. Consensus prevailed on Ezife to step down. The same prevailed on Obunionu to step down. After winning, both parties collapsed and formed a merger to run as a single. I think they all now ran under AD, and Olufalaye became the presidential flag bearer for both parties. That is an understanding. There was no constitutional provision for it. So if we say that such needs to be repeated today because of the situation confronting us, similar, of course, with what obtained in 1999, why should anybody be making reference to Constitution? Since there is already precedence, it has become convention. When Obasanjo became president, by the time he was leaving, Obasanjo ensured that Yar'Adua became the flag bearer of PDP and eventually became the president of Nigeria. That was based on understanding that power needed to rotate, to stabilize the polity. So if we come somewhere along the line, because it now favors a section of the country, and they now begin to make reference to the constitution of the country, it will amount to shifting the goalpost in the middle of the game. That is unfair. Like I said, I've already repudiated the language. It's uncultured. It's unnecessary. You need to engage. I believe that I don't think the North is foreclosing. You get my point? Because I listened to Hakim Baba Ahmed. He said president or vice president. Do you understand that? That means he admitted by implication in that statement that there is a possibility for the North to produce the vice president. That for me is a preponderance that needs to be explored. The southern governors and the northern governors must talk. They need to understand. You know why I am worried about the rhetoric? You see, you can win the presidency, produce the president of Nigeria, and you lose a section of the country because they would interpret it as imposition. It means that they are not party to your emergence, and you ought to be the president of both North and South Nigeria. That is why the language must change.
Dr. Suleiman, this issue of, gentlemen's agreement that we have seen become conventions at several points in our democracy is one that Dr. Mefo really believes in. And really, if people have a gentleman's agreement with sincerity of purpose, thinking of what is good for all is what is important to us. You said earlier that Nigerians must be the ones to determine who becomes the president of Nigeria come 2023 and not the politicians. What are the options available to Nigerians? Because there are two major political parties in Nigeria, the APC and the PDP, and it is the flag bearers that they produce that Nigerians have the choice of voting for. Let's explore this. What is the role of the Office of the Citizen?
Thank you very much. I think that what the citizens require at this moment is that the next president of Nigeria should be someone who has the competence to provide the leadership that Nigeria actually needs. Someone who is going to tackle insecurity, someone who is going to tackle unemployment, someone who is going to address the, so many problems that we have in our society today. That's the person the citizens are looking for. And whether the person comes from the South, whether the person comes from the North, whether the person is a woman or a man, a Christian or a Muslim, is immaterial to the average Nigerian. It's only the political class who are exploring this and trying to exploit religion or region because if you know that you have a candidate that is capable, all you need to do is to go reach out to Nigerians. We are not looking for people who impose candidates on us on the basis of the religion that they belong to, on the basis of their region, because that system that we are saying is a convention is what has led us to where we are. Where governance is, good governance is nowhere to be found. So in 2023, the citizens are saying we need people who will bring good governance. And whether these people come from the south or from the north is immaterial to them, because, if your car gets spoiled and you get to the mechanic, are you going to ask for the tribe of the person who's going to, or the religion of the person who's going to repair your... Now, that's not to say that the issue of inclusion is not important. And the reason why we continue to, agitate for presidency from our region is because we want to channel development, or, that's the perception anyway, that's when you now bring chief of army staff, chief of... all these things do not matter to us, citizens. So the people that we are looking for in 2023, not just the presidency, at the governorship level, at the states, local governments, are people who will give us good governance. I just saw the 2021 Transparency International report about how Kaduna State came first, Zamfara came last. Now these are northern states, So everything rises and falls on leadership. So we are looking for the leaders in 2023, the president who will actually have the competence, the character, who is willing to engage, just like Babangida said, someone who knows every part of this country and is, interested in seeing that we come together, we develop at all levels, and all. Those are the kind of leaders we look for, whether they are women or men or north or south. That's what the citizens want. All these zoning contestations and protestations everywhere is being sponsored by the political class that have failed us, and they still want us to continue along this line of national a la carte, on the basis of all these things that may not actually favor us.
All right, Dr. Mefo, we all agreed that it's honorable to respect agreements, but looking at our recent political history, has this principle of zoning or rotation ever been breached? Because
it has been breached.
Yes, because in 2007, after former President Obasanjo, had completed his 8 years from 1999, part, of course, shifted to the north. Sadly so, the late Yaradua passed on, and Jonathan was made to complete his term. It was expected by the elites in the north that power should still remain in the north after 2011. But the PDP decided to give former President Jonathan the right of first refusal, of his presidential ticket. Was that a breach of the zoning arrangement, which may have angered the north at that time?
There was no breach in 2011. Jonathan was already vice president and had to finish the residue of the tenure that brought himself and Yaradua to power. Now, in 2011, he was actually qualified to run. When the breach occurred was in 2015. If I knew what I knew now then, I would not have supported Jonathan in 2015. This is a fact. In fact, I later learned that there was a very serious high-powered meeting brokered by Obasanjo, where Jonathan contesting in 2011 was brokered and accepted on the condition that he shouldn't run in 2015. That explains why Obasanjo went wild when Jonathan decided to run in 2015. So there was a breach. Now, you see, I listened to the late Adamu Chirama predict what is happening now. That look, if you observe this rotation in breach, you will come crawling on your knees begging for it. When the North will tell you, let us play the game according to your own formula. That's it. So, we must be dispassionate about some of these things. There was a breach, and the breach was done by the PDP. Even now, the PDP is ignoring its own constitution. I told you, their own amendment in 2009 wrote into the party constitution the principle of rotation and zoning within rotation of all offices from president down to local government chairman. Why are they not referring to that section of their own constitution? So there is a breach. You see, I think my friend and brother, he touched on one important point, that you see, do we really need to worry about where the president comes if we have somebody who can give us all we need, give us good governance, and carry everybody along? That's his position. That is my position too. And mine is modified in this way. I believe that there is no section of Nigeria, the 6 geopolitical zones, where you do not have competent Nigerians that can give us first-class presidency. Since you have competent Nigerians, there was a rhetorical question he asked. If Akeredolu runs and Atiku runs, who do you think? He didn't answer the question. If you vote Atiku, I will vote Akeredolu. I'm telling you. So it depends on how you are looking at these things. Do you get the point? No, wait 1 minute. The point I'm trying to make is this. There is a reason why you can't leave this to one man, one vote. There is already a very serious inequity in the country. The problem of Nigeria is fundamentally structural. The federal system you run is no longer a federalism. Why you brought in the principle of federal character into it is in the quest to help the country arrive at a more equitable federalism. It's no longer obtainable. That is why you have to bring in all these extraneous factors to be able to really moderate the process, like Americans did. That enabled Trump to become president ahead of somebody that won with over 3 million votes. The records are there. So Nigeria is facing certain inequities within its own construct that needs to be deconstructed by injecting certain measures that will ensure social justice and equity. If you don't do that, leaving it one man, one vote. Look, let me ask us, why is it that the millions of votes of the North is only touted when you have election? Why is it not reflected in revenue generation? Why is it not reflected in electricity consumption? Why is it not reflected in other things? It's not reflected. If it's not reflected, you need to understand that why are we fighting over that?
Dr. Mefo, I want to ask you about, yes, I want to ask you, you know, you've talked, you know, extensively about for the stability, for the purpose of stability. I pointed to the fact that, yes, there is no geopolitical zone that cannot produce capable people who can be president in Nigeria. But still, I want to ask, how is it this rotational and presidency that we've had since inception of democracy, what has been its effect on our democracy? How has it helped the nation?
It has helped. I'll tell you. It has helped when the Nadeko agitation that actually transmuted into militancy through OPC was doused and contained by the Obasanjo presidency. The same thing applied to Niger Delta militancy. It was doused by the presidency of Goodluck Jonathan. And the North was also restive. The presidency of Yar'Adua helped in containing that. The coming to power by President Muhammadu Buhari helped in containing the agitation of the North to return to power. So nobody should say that it has not helped in stabilizing the polity. Where it appears to have failed may be in the performance of the individual performers, those who occupy the office, if you want to consider what is going on today and order. But I can also tell you whether we take it or not. Look, you see, you need this rotation because the country is experiencing very severe centrifugalism. the sections of the country are pulling away. People are seriously threatening to go away from the politics called Nigeria. Why are they doing that? It's because they feel they are not carried along. We are talking about IPOB. Do you know the Southeast only a few months ago was the safest place in Nigeria? Today is the home of a non-government. Right. We are talking about
Dr. Mefong, we have to leave this conversation here now.
I can go
so
on
and
on.
I want to thank you.
Just 30 seconds.
Yes. Let me say that this seemingly agitation for secession and all is normal in our election period. If another president, the next president, 2023 president, comes from Katsina State, this country will remain. I'm telling you this. This man, what's his name again? This militant man, he said it in 2019, that if Goodluck Jonathan does not emerge as the next president of Nigeria, there will be no Nigeria. You see, these individual ambitions cannot undermine the entity called Nigeria.
All right,
Dr.
Barnabas Suleiman, political sociologist and a senior lecturer at the Bayes University here in Abuja, the nation's capital. We appreciate your time on the program this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Also, Dr. Olo Mefo, a forensic psychologist. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere just yet. Kakaki returns shortly with another talking point. This time we'll be taking a look at the task ahead of the Harmonization Committee of the National Assembly on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill. Join us again.
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.